Welcome to From the Desk of ShechetAI. In each deep dive, we take recent AI news and sort of unpack it using three different perspectives.
That's right. We look at the philosophical angle, the business implications, and then the wider societal effects.
Exactly. The idea is to make these sometimes pretty complex developments a bit more accessible and pull out what really matters for you. Okay, so let's get into this week's sources.
These ones really highlight how interconnected everything is. You can't really separate the philosophy from the business side or from society.
Absolutely. Let's kick off with something I've found fascinating from an NPR piece mentioned in the sources. It's this idea of vibe coding.
Ah, yes. Vibe coding.
It sounds a bit out there, but it's actually quite profound, isn't it? The sources suggest AI prompts are basically, well, dissolving the old barriers to making software.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to know intricate code anymore. You describe the vibe you want for your website or app, and the AI just builds it.
Which is, incredible.
Yeah.
But the philosophical questions the sources raise are huge.
Definitely. Like, what happens to authenticity, to mastery of a craft if the AI is doing the heavy lifting?
Right. And ownership, too, if you just describe the vibe, but the AI writes every line of code. Who really created it? Who owns the idea?
It forces us to rethink what being a developer even means. Is it syntax, or is it communicating intent effectively to a machine?
A fundamental shift in how we see human ingenuity,
Right.
maybe. The value of that deep technical skill versus, well, vision.
And this isn't just abstract pondering, is it? It connects directly to the world of work.
Yeah, let's pivot from the philosophical to the very, very practical. The sources flag a pretty stark warning from Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic.
That one definitely caught my eye. He's talking about, what, potentially up to half of white-collar jobs facing automation.
Within 5 years. That's the kicker. It's not some far-off sci-fi scenario.
No, it feels very immediate. And the sources point to sectors like tech, legal, places we think of as requiring complex human thought.
So the key insight isn't just jobs might change. It's the speed and scale of it. A potential seismic shift, as the sources put it.
Right, which puts enormous pressure on businesses, on governments, too.
So what's the suggested path forward, according to the sources? How do we navigate this?
Well, it seems to be about finding that balance. You can't ignore the potential AI offers for growth and efficiency.
But you also can't ignore the risk of, well, mass displacement.
Exactly. So the sources stress things like massive investment in reskilling people,
That's
helping
right.
them adapt.
And maybe redefining roles. So it's humans working with AI, not just being replaced.
Precisely. Plus the need for actual policies, responsible guidelines for how we deploy this stuff, not just reacting after the fact.
Because just chasing the tech without thinking through the consequences,
Yeah.
that could lead to real economic trouble.
Foresight seems crucial here, making AI an ally, not just an disruptor.
Okay, and that idea of accessibility and how society adapts, it links nicely to the final source area, doesn't it? Hugging Face and their open source robots.
Yeah, HopeJR and Reachy Mini. The really interesting thing here, highlighted in the sources, is the approach. It's all open source.
Meaning the blueprints, the code, it's all out there for anyone.
Pretty much. The goal is to democratize robotics. Take it out of just elite labs or big corporations and put it into the hands of, well, communities everywhere.
That feels like a significant cultural shift, doesn't it? Towards sharing and collaborating on innovation.
It does. Instead of closed proprietary systems, you have this potential for community-built, adaptable robots. The sources show this trend towards openness is real.
But as these robots, spread out and become more accessible,
Mhm.
what societal questions pop up?
Oh, big ones. The sources immediately point to privacy, safety, ethics. When anyone can build or modify a robot, how do you ensure it's used responsibly?
Yeah. Will people embrace these community-built machines, or will there be pushback? Concerns about control, maybe unforeseen consequences?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The tech is moving towards openness, but societal acceptance, how we integrate it, that's still unfolding.
It's not just can we build it, but how do we want to live with it?
Yeah. It's fascinating stuff.
So pulling it all together from this deep dive, what's the big picture from these sources?
Well, you see this recurring theme, right? Democratization, whether it's coding or robotics, blurring old lines.
But also these significant risks, testing our resilience, job markets, ethics, safety.
Human ingenuity is clearly pushing forward at incredible speed.
Yet we're wrestling with these really fundamental questions. Control, purpose, sustainability in this new AI-driven landscape.
Which leads to that final thought, that lingering question from the material.
Are these innovations ultimately going to be tools for empowering everyone?
Or could they inadvertently become catalysts for, well, major upheaval.
Definitely something to keep thinking about as you continue your own deep dive.